Welcome to this week's edition of Reverse Mortgage Weekly, where we go over the reverse mortgage program and answer any questions that people might have about this wonderful program. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So my name is Zach Smith. I own Chariot Financial or mortgage brokers. I've been in the industry since 2021 or 2003, if you can believe it. And I've owned Chariot Financial since 2019. I started off working for larger banks, Chase banks, some home builders, used for work for Pulte Homes, and also had a stint at Fairway Mortgage and Cherry Creek Mortgage as well. And ended up starting my own business in 2019, and it's the best decision I've ever made in regards to what I want to do with my business and where I can bring. I always had it hard. I'm a very creative person, and I like to do things that are outside of the box. So it's harder to do those things if you don't have your name on the business. So they want to kind of keep you contained in that little section there. But I am a CSA, and I specialize in the reverse mortgage program. So what are we going to go over today? So there are some things that we'll go over. Basically, typical clients that we see for the reverse mortgage, what a reverse mortgage is and what a reverse mortgage is not, why people are choosing a reverse mortgage, and how do they work in simple terms. I think one of the big barriers for this program is people just don't understand how they work. And if you don't understand how something works, it's a lot easier to say, well, I just don't like them. So my goal is really to help people understand how these work, how people use them, so that you can make an educated decision based on your financial welfare. And, I was teaching a class this morning. I've been teaching this class for the state for 9 years. And I taught a class this morning to a group of real estate agents. And, there's a lot of topics that come up when we teach that class. And that's something that, I really enjoy doing, and educating people about this piece because, for instance, one of the topics that we go over in that class is how the difference between getting people qualified to purchase a home. Many seniors, basically, they're in a home right now that may not be safe. Like I use my mother as an example. Her home has, it's one of those homes you open up the front door and you got stairs going down and stairs going up, like the tri-levels. And boy, those stairs are a little steep for her these days. And so she's kind of looking at changing her situation as things progress with her health and things like that. So sometimes folks feel like they're trapped in their house because one, they just don't think they can qualify. So going over the differences on how to qualify for a reverse mortgage, it's much, much different than a forward mortgage. On a forward mortgage, the risk assessment is basically the borrower, person asking for the mortgage, are they going to be a good borrower? Are they going to pay the mortgage payment on time each month? Well, because, with a forward mortgage, that's the risk assessment is we take your income, your assets, your credit. We take a look at that whole package and we determine, is this person going to make the payments on time? Is this a good risk for the bank to go forward with? Whereas with a reverse mortgage, the payments are optional. So with an optional payment, how do you determine risk? Well, it's based on longevity, how long the person's going to be in the property, and also based on current interest rates and things like that. But the long and short of it is it's much easier to qualify for a reverse mortgage if you have the equity. That's usually the big hurdle that we run into with the reverse mortgage is the equity, not having enough, basically. But if the person has the equity and they're able to get things put together for a reverse mortgage, then the qualifications are actually much, much easier in that situation. So let's go ahead and dive into it here. So who are typical clients that we see for the reverse mortgage product? Well, the first client I would say that we see are people who are looking to get out from under a mortgage payment. Now, the 30-year fixed loan is something that we're all, 99% of loans are a 30-year fixed loan. which means that, in an example I used this morning in the state class that I taught for, you borrow $200,000 to purchase a house. We'll say you have a $200,000 mortgage. Well, after 30 years, you actually end up paying $364,000. So where does that other $164,000 go? It goes to our friends at the bank. And what they do on a 30-year fixed or any amortized schedule really is they front load all of that interest. So basically, you're paying 50% of the interest on a 30-year fix in the first 10 years. Basically, people are looking at that, or they may be in a situation. I've had clients in the past who desperately wanted to retire. One of my clients was a florist at one of the grocery stores here in town, and she was looking for a reverse mortgage, and I was just trying to be nice and kind of chummy with her and kind of strike up a conversation and get to know her a little bit better. I said, "Oh, you must really like your job." She's a florist, and she looked me straight in the eye and she said, "I hate it. I hate it." And it kind of took me aback because I was just trying to be a friendly mortgage guy, and she came out and really expressed how much she hated her job. And back in those days, back in the early 2020, she was considered a essential employee, so she had to go into work. It wasn't an option. Grocery workers were essential employees, and she was terrified every day going into work. We had that crazy virus going around. People were getting beat up for toilet paper back then. I mean, there was just some crazy stuff going on. So she felt like she couldn't retire because she had a large mortgage payment. So what we were able to do with her is we're able to convert her current mortgage into a payment optional program. And by doing that, what we're able to do is she now has the option. If she wants to make that mortgage payment, she can. And, I don't think that's a point that really a lot of our, financial, planners and also mortgage people in this industry are doing a good job of, is really letting people know that the reverse mortgage is really just like any other loan. You can pay it off, you can make monthly payments, you can do all of those things with a reverse mortgage. You're just not forced to. And if you want to make a payment, make a payment. No big deal. If you don't want to make a payment and you want to take that money that normally you'd be giving over an interest to the bank, you can just take that money and put it in your pocket. So, that's probably the number one client that we see are people who are looking to get out from under a mortgage payment and increase their cash flow. They're looking to retire. They're looking to increase their cash on a monthly basis. Secondly, we also have older adults that are need relief from high monthly payments, like I mentioned, a mortgage loan. Also, credit card debt, car payments, student loans, you name it. As Americans, we are a nation of debtors. I mean, we borrow. Most of us live off our credit cards, which is not a good idea. So basically, people are looking to get those things paid off. Now, is it a good idea to use your mortgage to pay off a credit card or something like that? No, it's probably not a good idea. You hear about this all the time. Car notes being paid down, credit cards being paid down, because then the assumption is that you're going to be paying on that debt for another 30 years if you do a refinance. Or on a reverse mortgage, that interest, the amount is going to be going up and up each month. Negatively amortized on the program. So it's not really a good idea, but you know what? If the debt's already there, other than you basically paying off that debt every month, and really that's the best idea, but how many people, will actually go and do that? Some people are in so much debt, they have no real plan or really way to pay all of it off. I mean, that's really apparent when you look at student loan debt. I mean, so I looked at a lady the other day. Of course, she was getting her doctorate, but she had $650,000 in student loans. And, student loans are a federal debt, so you can't include them in a bankruptcy or anything like that. And, of course, we can have the whole conversation about personal responsibility and, she should have paid those off. She took them out. What did she do with the money? All that stuff. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. The debt's there. What are you going to do with it? So if folks are in that situation, being able to get relief for some of that debt or pay off a car note or something like that is a huge, huge benefit and really brings a lot of peace. And really, that's one of the best things that I really enjoy about this program is the level of peace that it brings people when they're, not having to worry about making that mortgage payment or making those credit card payments. It's all taken care of. You roll it up into loan. Yes, and you are paying for it. It's negatively amortizing. You do have a monthly payment, but you're utilizing that asset that you have, your real estate, so that you can live a better quality of life. Again, if we were all perfect, we would never had any credit cards, we wouldn't have any debt. But I got news for you. Not all of us are perfect. So that's where this program comes in and really does help. But the third folks that we see, and a lot of people don't even think about this, but I've had some very savvy people come across my desk that we've done some reverse mortgages for, and they love to establish a safety net for their assets. Let's say you have, a couple million in the bank. You own your home free and clear. Why would you take out a reverse mortgage? Well, you want a safety net. A lot of times when you take money out from your retirement accounts, whether you have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, however much you have in your retirement accounts, when you take money out, guess who's waiting around the corner? Our buddy Uncle Sam. And he's saying, hey, you just took some money out. Now, of course, you can get Roths and stuff like that. And I'm sure that, those are pre-tax. But with these other accounts, you take money out and you're going to get issued one of those nice little 1099s at the end of the year. Well, some people say, you know what, I'm trying to reduce my tax burden. How about I borrow from my line of credit? And if you borrow from your line of credit, 100% tax-free because it's considered a loan. So they're not going to count that against income in any way, shape, or form. So again, this is used as a strategy for folks who have a lot of assets. So I think most people think, oh, you're doing a reverse mortgage, you must be in the dumps, or, it must be something that you must be having a hard time. But some folks are very shrewd in their decision to pull out a reverse mortgage. It's not just a loan of last resort. And we'll go into more detail with that here in a moment. So what a reverse mortgage is? Well, it is a mortgage loan. It does have monthly payments. There was a group out here a couple of years ago that got in trouble with the federal government because they're out telling everybody, oh, we're going to eliminate your payment. If you listen to a lot of mortgage people right now that advertise, we're going to eliminate your payment. Your payment's going away. You're not going to have a payment anymore. Well, it's a little bit misleading to say that because you still have a monthly payment. And that's something that I want to be very clear about because I don't think people are clear about this. Probably one of the reasons folks may or may not like this program is how it's presented because there is a monthly payment. But the thing about that monthly payment is it's optional. If you want to make that monthly payment, go for it. 99.9% of people don't make that monthly payment. And guess what happens if you don't make that? Well, the balance on the loan is going to grow over time. But again, if you go into a situation where you're negatively amortizing, where that loan balance is going up, it's a choice because you can make a monthly payment and your loan will never go up. In fact, you could go the other way and pay it down. But a lot of people think that, well, gosh, why would I want to do that? Why don't I, if I make a monthly payment, most of it's going to go to interest anyways. So why not take the money I'm making a payment with and put it in my pocket? I think it does better in my pocket than it does in the bank's hands, right? I mean, who knows? People have different opinions about this. So generally, the reverse mortgage will come with a line of credit, cash payout, or a tenured payment paid out over time. So this is what a reverse mortgage is not. Regardless of what your uncle tells you down the street, it's not a government takeover of your home. It's not a way to make you upside down on your property. Now, FHA does have a stake in this. These are government loans, most of them. There are proprietary loans that we originate, but those are in specific circumstances when people need the cash for specific things. or if if we're having trouble getting your house FHA approved or something like that, especially with condos who are not approved as an FHA. So think about this for a second. One of the things, the two things that people think that is the issue with these programs is that the government's going to own your house and that you're going to be upside down. If any one of those two things happen, then the government loses. Not only does the government lose, but the bank loses also. Why? They don't want your real estate. They don't want your house. It's a problem for them. They're in the business of getting interest from you. They're in the business of collecting your hard-earned retirement, your hard-earned savings, your hard-earned income, and taking it in the form of interest. And they've become very good at it. 30-year fixed loan, I mean, you're paying 50% of the interest in the first 10 years. Boy, that's a great deal for the bank. It's not a good deal for the consumer, but that's what we buy into. Credit cards. Boy, with rates going up here, and I know rates came down a little bit. Thank God, the Federal Reserve is starting to help us out here a little bit. But the credit cards, some of them 30% interest. Why the heck would they want to deal with real estate when they can get you for 30% on your credit card? Doesn't make sense. So it's not a way to take your home. It's not a way to make you upside down. If you go upside down on one of these, the bank just lost. So, and it's also not a payment-free mortgage. Again, you have a lot of folks out there saying, oh, it's a payment-free, we're going to eliminate your payments, all that. There should be an asterisk there. It should say we're going to eliminate your payments from being out of pocket, is really what that asterisk should say, because there's still a payment, but you get to choose if you want to make that payment. And if you don't want to make it, then you don't pay it out of pocket. You pay it at the end, which is when you leave the residence, either by passing or going into a facility. So why are people choosing this option in retirement? Well, in my opinion, it's pretty simple, and it all boils down to liquidity, cash flow, basically, and long-term financial planning. That's something we talked about in the class this morning that I did was, there's a sentiment in the United States and how most of our financial planning decisions are made is basically you have your nest egg. Okay, you're ready to retire. You have your nest egg, your financial planner, and you sit down, make decisions that basically how a lot of these decisions are being made by a lot of Americans, not necessarily you. I don't want to point the finger at anybody, but most financial planners and most people are making decisions to basically burn through your nest egg first. And this is, again, your nest egg becomes vitally important because you don't know how long you're going to need that nest egg. You could live to 60, to 70, to 80, to 90, to 100. Well, the difference between 60 and 100 is 40 years. So you have to have a nest egg there ready to support you for 40 years, possibly. Now, is everybody going to live to 100? No, but we don't know. We don't know how long we're going to be around. When our number's called by the man upstairs or the woman upstairs, we just go. And we don't know when that's going to be. So holding on to cash and not running out prematurely is really the idea of the reverse mortgage. It's the concept. Consider this concept when you think about the reverse mortgage. Would you rather pass on equity or a higher net worth? And some folks don't want to pass on anything. They want their last check to bounce. Well, this is a program that you can utilize for that philosophy as well. So that's really the key with the reverse mortgage is staying liquid. Because again, most people are making decisions to basically liquidate their nest egg first. And then they're like, well, we have this house. What can we do with the house? Well, let's sell it. And then you move on to different, you have to move in with family. You have to rent. There's a whole host of things. What really makes more sense to me and also to the research that's been shown is use your home equity first. So what you would want to do is get a reverse mortgage as soon as possible, as young as you can, and utilize that as your financial planning. So for instance, if you do have a 401k and something, you got a car breaks down or you need to fix it or something, don't pull out of your 401k and get taxed on that money. Pull out of your reverse mortgage. If you pull out of your reverse mortgage, A, you're not going to get taxed, and B, you're not going to have a monthly payment that you got to make out of pocket. And what happens to your 401k? Well, it just sits there and it's able to realize that growth over the years. You know, one of the things that I go over in every class is I do that old thing where you say, hey, I've got a penny that doubles every day for 31 days, or I got a suitcase full of $1 million. Which one do you want? Well, the answer is you want the penny. Because if you take a penny and you double it for 31 days, you got $10 million. But if you take that penny and you only double it for 16 days, you got about $160. Well, that's an overly gross example of how exponential growth works in our retirement accounts. But that's really the same concept, is that you don't want to go into your retirement first. Go into your home equity first with a reverse mortgage. You don't have a monthly payment. You're not getting taxed on the income. And guess what? Your nest egg is going to last a lot longer. And we'll go over the figures. There's been several studies that show the advantage of this. So these are the two things that people look at for the reverse mortgage is liquidity and long-term financial planning. So home equity and liquidity. So equity is great to have, but unfortunately it is not liquid. It's a lot like having a glass coffee table right there in the middle of your living room full of cash that you can't get to. So you're sitting down on your couch, you're watching your favorite show, and you kick your feet up on the table, and you're looking down at the couch. Oh, look at all that cash! Isn't that wonderful? It's great. You got all that equity, you got all that cash there. But boy, if you need to get a dental work done, or you got to get a new car, or you got to help somebody out, or you have to get access to cash, doesn't do you any good. It's just a place to hold your coffee at that point. So, it's not like we can take a picture of our house and then go down to the grocery store and say, hey, here's all my groceries. I don't have any cash on me, but here's a picture of my house. I'm good for it. I mean, your house has got a lot of cash, right? Shouldn't it work? Doesn't quite work that way, my friends. It doesn't work that way. If you're basically in a situation where you have a lot of equity, the problem is it's not liquid. You can't get to it. So why does this matter in retirement? Well, most retirees are on a fixed income and they have a limited cash flow. Most people don't want to work into their 60s and 70s and 80s. I mean, some people enjoy what they do. They're going to work the rest of their lives. God willing, I'll be doing the same thing. But you basically don't want to put yourself in a position where you're going to work and you really, really don't want to, like my client I mentioned earlier. And unforeseen medical expenses can liquidate retirement assets prematurely. So being able to have that safety net there to cover those costs is vitally important. And the other thing is that not making a monthly mortgage payment out of pocket, that also has a huge advantage to it. For most everybody that you see, especially those who are watching this presentation right now, I'll bet you donuts to dollars that housing is your highest cost, that your rent, your mortgage is your highest bill out of all your bills. And that's going to continue to be the case. And where I know that to be true is just seeing the data. And, of course, you have what you call, quote unquote, the smart money on Wall Street. These are these hedge fund groups, the guys that eat, sleep, and breathe profit. That's all they do is how can I make more money? Well, what are they doing? They're putting their money into real estate right now, into the suburbs, becoming the term corporate landlord, where basically they're trying to capitalize on the fact that millennials have not been buying property at the clip that baby boomers have. So they're trying to buy up all the properties and make us a nation of renters, basically, because they know that there's profit in it. They know that that's something they can count on. So those are the reasons why it matters in retirement. So the reverse mortgage basically solves the problem of liquidity. You have equity, it's in that glass coffee table, you can't get to it. Well, the reverse mortgage basically just installs a drawer and you take cash out when you need it. If you don't need it, you just let it sit there. So there's a few ways that you can access your cash or your equity from a reverse mortgage. One is just a lump sum. They show up with a big suitcase full of cash. Have fun. You could also turn your house into like an annuity where it pays you back each month, or you can get a line of credit, which is by far probably the most popular, at least with my clients. I've always liked the line of credit because if you need to take cash out, you can. But if you don't need it, then you can keep that equity in there. You don't have to touch it. So the reverse mortgage as a financial planning tool. So some Americans are living longer, which creates a concern about running out of retirement assets or the amount that they're going to leave to their heirs. So the research of Harold Avensky, Sean Pfeiffer, and John Salter of Texas Tech University, they published an article in the about the academic acceptance of the reverse mortgage product as it pertains not only to a financial planning tool, but to the survivability rates of one's asset when using home equity in their retirement plan. And what they found, and this is the link to that article, what they found is that, boy, if you incorporate your equity into your financial planning tool, guess what? Your assets are going to last a lot longer. Now, you're not going to have as much equity, but you're probably going to do better in the market than you do with home equity. Home equity is, it's going to grow no matter what. Whether you take from it or you don't take from it, you're still going to get the growth from the home equity. But with financial products, you get a lot more growth when you're able to direct those in a way that is going to be advantageous for you. So that's one of the things that your financial planner can talk to you about. So there's different types of reverse mortgage programs. You probably heard the term HECM. Well, what the heck is a HECM? Well, the term HECM is an acronym for Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. And that's FHA's real fancy name for reverse mortgage, basically. These loans are governed by and sponsored by HUD, so they are FHA loan. Quite frankly, the government loves these loans because it's helping with the crisis that we have with housing for seniors. If we can keep people in their homes aging in place, not only will they have a higher quality of life, but they're usually healthier in that situation. And of course, depending on the home, depending on the conditions and things like that. Oh my gosh, we have a visitor here. Do you want to? Wow, that fits pretty good. You want to show everybody? We have a cowboy visiting us today. Well, folks, it's 2:30. We usually try to wrap these up within an hour or half hour. We pop on here every week and talk about the reverse mortgage program. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day, and thanks for hanging out with us today. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.